institutions that can protect the well-being of children. Again, the program would provide a safety net for vulnerable children and families, and also help meet their basic needs. So what we were focusing on West Africa, like I said, and the proposed date is 27th of May, 2023. We are also proposing to use the Ladi Kwali Center in the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria. And I just have to state here that the reason for going with this place or this venue is because in looking at West Africa, Nigeria is the most dominant country in terms of population and is the rallying force for West Africa. So we unanimously agreed to go with Nigeria and focus on Abuja, which is the seat of policy making for Nigeria. And our conference is targeting policymakers, practitioners, researchers, education experts, advocates, and parents and guardians of children. We want to be able to share knowledge, exchange ideas, build collaboration in the field of social protection for children in West Africa. We are opening this up to over or at least 150 delegates who will be coming to rub minds together to prefer a solution or align on a way forward for this group. And the objective for us is to share current research and knowledge on social protection policies and programs of children in West Africa, including effectiveness, the challenges, the opportunities for improvements, to also explore strategies for designing and implementing these initiatives that will be responsive to the needs and priorities of children. So we want to foster dialogue and collaboration between policymakers, practitioners, advocates, and educators for children in West Africa, and to also provide an opportunity for learning, networking, capacity building related to social protection, because we believe that the more united we are, the easier and quicker it will be for us to push the right policies and to effect the right changes that we need to see across West Africa. One of the proposed benefits for this conference is that every delegate in attendance will be, learning global best practice on children protection, both environmentally and digitally. So we're also looking at, online protection, at least for a certain level of children. Also, we're looking to unite African social protection policy development for children and to align on concrete recommendations for actions. We also believe that participants will meet their peers, share what works and what doesn't work, and find opportunities for collaborations and synergies with practitioners within their field. For the conference itself, we have 3 plenary sessions, and the first will be a presentation by a representative from the African Union Commission, where we would be looking at children's rights and priorities to end child labor in Africa. And of course, the plenary session would also include a presentation by educators and guardians on child protection and gender equality, providing an overview of effective ways to protect children in Africa. And the last plenary session we'll be looking at is highlighting key supports needed for the protection of the African child. And here we'll be looking at how to support, how to have some guardrails to ensure sustainable growth once these policies are put in place. I guess that's really it. There are a few other aspects to our concept notes, but I think this is the meat of our proposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Jade, for that presentation. I will give opportunity to colleagues gathered if you follow through based on our learnings so far, and with the different concept notes that I shared. If there are questions you want to ask Jade and her group, the Gender, Children, and Social Protection Group, you have the opportunity to raise your hand now. I invite you, and then you get to ask your questions. And then Jade and the team will be in a position to respond to your questions. So we are open for your own questions now. Asking questions both on the thematic issue related to the conference they are seeking to host, as well as those related to the learning, the particular technical things that we are learning at this point. In the next few seconds, if I don't see a hand up, I will assume you're not interested in the questions. All right, I see comments coming up appreciating Jadith. I will put my views across. I see that your document is 4-paged. On the second page, we have quite a sizable empty space there. What happened there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
I can.
So that was a bit of a formatting issue that I would fix, but because of time, I saved it that way. But I'd look into it and
Okay, so you would
yes.
want to remove that then, because
Yes.
the document needs to flow. It's continuous. So if it's 3-page, you need to have it as 3-page. If it's 4-page, you need to be complete 4-page, except the last page, obviously, if it's not complete. Next, your conference, you speak about it being both in person and then digital online, right?
Oh no, sir. I was referring to the issues we'll be discussing in terms of protection. That while we're looking at vulnerable children, I mean, we're also looking at children in general. So we will have some allowance to also speak about protection online, digital protection for children, because we know that children are also vulnerable to bullying, cyberbullying, and exposed to some harmful information if they are not properly guided on how to use the internet, or if there's no monitoring system for that.
All right. So it means it's going to be fully on-site events.
Yes, that's what we're encouraging because of the collaboration.
Okay, that's okay. Because related to that is a question on communications. Nothing is indicated here. So 3 key things I expected in your concept notes beyond everything you put in here. One will be the finance. Okay, how are you going to finance this event in your case? The other one has to do with monitoring and evaluation. How do you evaluate success of your program?
Right.
And then the third one happens to do with communications. How do you intend communicating before, during, and then after the events?
Okay.
So those are things you would want to revise in the documents and then share with us afterwards. Is that okay?
Yes, we'll add that. To be fair, we couldn't really exhaust what we were working on.
Sure.
So we would add that afterwards. Thank you for the feedback. So I'll take the one I've posted on the group so that we can update it and reshare.
That's okay then.
Thank you.
The health team, if you're ready, you may want to proceed. Do you want to share your screen? You can be made co-hosts or given admin rights. I think it's Stephen, right? Stephen Kube.
Yes.
All right, we're listening to you, Stephen.
The screen will be shared by Dr. Yawat.
Okay, so Dr. Yawat should be given the admin rights.
Yes.
Okay. So Ajua, I think you may want to help me with that. Dr. Yawat should be made. Okay, so let me.
While he's getting ready, I think we can begin to lay the foundation for that.
Okay, so Dr. Yawat, you've been made the co-host.
Okay, let me share the screen, sir.
Okay.
Basically, the Public Policy Group 4, which was working on healthcare, decided on a project, and we had two concept notes in mind in order to broaden our scope on our scope on meeting the various needs beyond the various concept note styles. And so we thought of the basic and the project concept note. And I will, first of all, I think Dr. Yawad will share with us the project concept notes which we began, and then likewise to the basic concept notes which will all be shared in the general forum once we are completed with every other step. Because from the previous from the previous presentation, I equally already noted some corrections which I equally will need to include at the end with my team as I'm presenting along. Okay, and the project was under the title Management of Severe Malaria in Children and Pregnant Women in the Sub-Saharan Africa, abbreviated MSMCP project, and it is a pilot project. So overviewing the continent as a whole, we noticed that in the Sub-Saharan Africa, we noticed that it is hugely plagued by malaria, and it's worsening effect again with climate change, which increases the temperature of the atmosphere, providing breeding grounds for mosquitoes, rather making the situation much more worse in the sub-Saharan and the temperate regions of Africa. That not being the only worry which we had in mind, we equally noticed that across the various countries in the Africa, there is the problem of long waiting times at the health facilities, where persons come in for maybe diagnosis and consultations at the hospitals, and they are kept waiting for very long extended periods of time. And on this same background, we noticed that on the background of a project, we could equally identify the problem of distances which are very far off with persons who are living under poverty levels, far off in remote areas at the fringes of our communities and the fringes of our societies, making it very difficult for them to access medical care.
Dr.
And again,
are you having any challenge with yours?
Please, I'm having difficulty sharing my screen. That's why I'm like still figuring out. Let me share it with my phone. I'll share it with my phone right now.
Okay, Dr. Yawat.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So as we did the finding and our analysis on that, we equally noticed that there are cases of children and pregnant women who are positive of malaria, which presents a very precarious situation, leaving this particular population at risk in the sense that they suffer from maternal anemia, fetal loss, premature delivery, in intrauterine growth retardation, and the delivery of low birth rates weights between 200 and 2,500 grams, or about 5.5 pounds. And these particular sets are very prone to the risk of death. And owing to these difficulties, it's the reason why we see the pertinence of the management of malaria in the sub-Saharan region. And to note that our focus on our strategy was gotten from several persons. Ghana shared with us their perspective on chemo prevention therapy, inoculation, and Cameroon shared with us the perspective of community-directed intervention and community with the use of community health workers. Then the Gambia shared with us the scope of the effects and on the sample size which we chose, and that is the children and vulnerable children, orphans and vulnerable children, and pregnant women as well, who are living at the fringes of society, in order to make our scope a little bit narrowed down. And then to narrow down the scope within the sub-Saharan Africa, we consider that our nexus points or hubs within these particular areas would be the various persons within the team. And that is all the members in the healthcare group are going to form the hubs along their various countries, therefore making the pilot project a transnational event and not something that is clustered in one particular country or implemented in one particular country for data sourcing. And basically, this is what gives us the rationale behind why we are implementing this particular project. And I would equally like to have persons like Usman to poise up in order to present a few points here on the various strategies and the points which we were to use while I go through this. And key points to note is that the strategy in place is the community-directed intervention strategy that would make use of community health workers across various health districts. These particular community health workers are going to be living in the communities where these persons live and cannot have access to medical to health facilities and to medication. And they are going to be using a rapid diagnostic test kits in the communities in order to test for malaria and provide first aid intervention, primary first aid intervention or first line treatment to these persons who are infected or who are prone to the danger of severe and acute malaria. And as such, they would be the linkage agents to link these severe cases to the health facilities. And as they link the cases to the health facilities, they're equally going to play the role of counseling and awareness raising on antenatal care and supporting pregnant women and at the fringes of our community. So basically, I think that is where we stand at. And we are going to be using the chemo prevention inoculation to reduce the chances of malaria infection. The inoculations will be community-based, but guided by supervisors who work alongside the community health workers. And thus, I would be giving the opportunity for Usman to come in and then share a few points with us, and any other person who has to go through, and then I will come back in again to complete what section I have left. Usman, over.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, thank you, Stephen, for your presentation, and good day to you all. Like my colleague has elaborated, that is the main concern about us. We are seeking to help and increase national strategies that have been targeted at reducing the morbidity and the mortality associated with malaria. So we still have high numbers of malaria cases in Africa. And our goal was to look at how we can also put in our efforts as health professionals and people that are concerned about health on how to bring down these numbers and also, if possible, eradicate malaria from Africa. So we have the idea of Ghana introducing the seasonal malaria chemo prevention approach, where we have community health workers that go down to this community level, specifically the vulnerable parts with motor bicycles. So the idea is trying to decentralize or send health care to these people because they are at the higher health disparity rates where they either have to travel long distances to get services to healthcare. Again, they are not having access to these basic medications that could have mitigated the adverse effects of malaria before they get to the severe stages and they are brought to the major health facilities. We sought to use this idea that once we have national strategies like this in Ghana, targeting such type of approach, we can also come on board with our approach where we also want to provide trained community health workers to be with these people at the community level. We also want these trained professionals to have basic access to basic medications, as in first aid therapies. We have paracetamol, we have antenatal lumefantrines and rapid diagnostic technologies. So once all these are with the community health workers at the community level, once they show any signs and symptoms or any unusual physiological effects in their body, they can reach out to these community health workers. And when the rapid diagnostic tools, which of course would shorten the time for the routine diagnostic technologies that we have, which takes about hours. We could have rapid diagnostic technologies that would spend about 5 to 10 minutes to be able to provide the diagnosis to see whether this is malaria that we have. If this is not the case, then we would have to serve as a link between the major referral centers in these communities. So we have the health workers doing two works. They are providing this kind of first aid techniques, trying to reduce costs associated with the treatment of malaria, trying to also reduce congestion at health facilities, also again trying to bridge that gap in health disparities. Major health referral centers. So that is the approach we seek to add. So we have this kind of proposed approach together with the chemo prevention approach in Ghana that we are using, that would hope to adopt in other parts of.
Are you done? Safiano Osman, are you done?
Yes, I would hand over to Dr. Yawat.
Okay. We're listening, Dr. Yawat.
Well, at this point, we were like, I want to give like a summary of the work. So we will emphasize on the diagnosis process. After the diagnosis process, we'll definitely go to our target population. Our target populations are most specifically the pregnant women and the children. So those will be our target population. And from there, we'll like figure out what are the different strategies we can use to improve the therapeutic management of malaria in our local sub-Saharan context. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much to the team as a whole for this presentation. I will, as usual, open up to other colleagues. If you have questions to ask, you are able to do that now. Kindly raise your hand, and then I will invite you to do so. But you've dropped the documents, and I cannot see, looking at the comments that will be coming, and those that myself I may want to make. Yes, Dana Al-Hassan, your hand is up.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. Though I've had difficulty in going through all of this because of my December, the group that just presented has done a great job, and then with the malaria chemotherapy that implemented in Ghana here, that is for children under 5 years of age, very good. But I was also thinking that during the pregnancy stage, especially when we have pregnant women in the picture, we could also encourage the use of the insecticide-treated mosquito nets, and then probably nutritional counseling that can also help in the prevention of these anemia-related issues that can be related to low birth weight children and a whole lot. So that's one of the things that I think we could add to the healthcare team interventions. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Dana Al-Hassan. Any response from the team on that?
Yeah, let me interject, please.
Okay.
Equally, we outlined some of those two as some of I think it's just because we didn't mention it while we were going through. But if you have the chance to read the document, the concept note, you'll find out that we included the use of insecticide-treated mosquito nets, and equally the use of counseling as part of the strategy for implementation. So it's duly noted, and equally with the contributions which is made. And to add, such that I just prevent another question which may pop in, as of course, the question of how are we going to go about it? We are going to be using the national malaria programs across the various countries. Making use of the national malaria programs, we would use those particular hubs for Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. We would use the hubs for the national malaria programs, the PEPFAR health facilities and their implementing partners would be the facilities that we would target, because within these facilities, we already have supplies for malaria available, therefore reducing on cost for the project to run its full course. Rather, the cost of the project would rather be focused on the training of community health workers for the community-directed intervention, and making use of these health facilities and the various zones which the health facilities have mapped out in the national malaria programs in order to reach out to the various communities. Thank you.
You're welcome, Stephen. Any other question from other members in the meeting? Otherwise, my own question would be the scoping of the project, because you mentioned even the name of the project tells that you are targeting sub-Saharan Africa. And I'm wondering, because the members in the entire cohort are from West Africa. So I'm wondering how you are strategizing to reach, assuming that you are going to work with members. I see members' names at the end of the document. So how do you reach, since you're targeting sub-Saharan Africa, how do you intend reaching people, or people outside of your own countries? Yes, Stephen.
Okay, in response to your question, like we indicated, it's a pilot project, which we are piloting for the first phase, which is going to run for 1 year from June 2023, which was the period which we mapped out, June 2023 to June 2024, a 1 year pilot project. And during the 1 year pilot project, we are going to use rather June 2024 to June 2025, rather. And we are going to use the pilot in order to source our data, to source our implementation strategies and see how effective those implementation strategies are. And it's our hope that the results will be used and then replicated across other countries in Africa. Therefore, it is going to be making use of the ODA scheme for funding, where we present the findings from the pilot phase as the prerequisite for the solicitation of funds to move across other countries across sub-Saharan Africa. And I think that is what we discussed in the forum while we were doing the project.
Okay, so my advice would be that, listening to you now, I suggest that this concept then would need to be limited to the countries within your pilot first, so that from the lessons you would gain, because the concept is for what you are doing now. It's not what you intend to do in the future. So when you limit it to the specific pilot countries, then you will indicate at the end probably that the learnings that would come out from this would then be used to scale up the project. So there's an opportunity for potential scale up after the pilot, but the concept could be limited to the scope that you are intended for your initial pilots. Yes, Dr. Yawat, you want to speak?
So I'm wondering, because from the pilot initial work, our aim is to target the sub-Saharan regions or sub-Saharan countries, because malaria parasites are being found only in the sub-Saharan, in the tropical regions, and more specifically in our African context. Those tropical regions are found and enlarged to the sub-Saharan regions.
So, yes, I get you. So my earlier question, which Stephen tried to address, was how are you reaching out? If you are targeting the entire of sub-Saharan Africa, I know the team you have now are members of this training. So assuming it's the team that are going to be working on this, how do you intend reaching targets beyond your the countries where you come from as a team? That was my earlier question, and the response from Stephen suggested that you're doing a pilot first, which will then be in your specific countries that you are coming from.
Exactly.
Then that was where my advice came, that if that is the case, then you may want to limit the scope of your concept notes, since it focuses or it touches on the pilots, then you may want to limit the scope then to maybe West Africa or the specific countries that you have listed in there, and not to use the entirety of sub-Saharan Africa when you have no means, I mean, you have no plans of covering all of those in your pilots. The concept covers pilot, so let's limit it to that, and not what we intend to do in the future. What we intend to do in the future is to scale up based on learning from this pilot. So
That
let's
means,
deal with
sir, if I get you well, we can limit the work on, let's say, on our regional aspect, like in the West African region.
Exactly.
Then from there, we can expand it to the sub-Saharan region in the general.
After the pilot.
After the piloting section that have been performed in the Western regions.
Yes.
Okay, that's perfect.
So
thank you, sir.
The scope in this concept notes should be the specific one you are intending to work on.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right. Yes, I saw your hand earlier, Dana.
Yes, it's just the last conclusion Dr. Yawa drew on was what I actually intended to touch on. Because when we are thinking about piloting, it means that we should either get a particular limited area where we can pilot and see the success before we move it across other regions.
Sure.
At the end of the day, Dr. Yawa got to that point, which I understand very well. Thanks.
You're welcome. And I also noticed, and I think, was it one of you? I think, Stephen, you noticed the inconsistency of your dating. So at one place, it's indicated June 2024 to 2025, but on in the table, it's indicated June 2023 to 2024. And 2023, yeah, so the inconsistency there, you may want to refine it. So I see also the suggested formats. You want to speak briefly on that, say the next 30 seconds, 60 seconds? Who will do that? On the experts or expertise required? Which of you will want to do that? Team
okay,
members.
let me come in. With the experts and the expertise required, we didn't complete that particular section, but the intention of it is that we are leveraging the expertise. This is the intention which I equally had in mind. If I'm talking about expertise, it will be leveraging the expertise of persons who are already in health projects to meet with their various partners, and then we share our concept.
Stephen, we are missing you. We are losing you.
Them and see how the buy-in, reach out to the persons that we need to reach out to, and the expertise of
Hello, Stephen.
A similar leveraging the expertise of, as well as civil society organizations. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, I was indicating that we'll be leveraging the expertise of persons or organizations, international, local, and civil society organizations, including the national government program, to them of pilot phase, which we would use in order to meet out the needs, and they too would be the key partnership between our project proposals and meeting the needs of the pilot. And again, the question which you raised concerning the inconsistency of dates, the dates indicated on the schedule, right, all through to the point where after the signing of the contract is 24. That's the last date at the bottom of that sheet where you find the signing of the contract, because we equally have to do the request for quotations, and we equally have to do the call for bids to see how it runs through for that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My other comments have to do with the ones I mentioned to the first group, which includes the budget. I noticed in the section C, implementing agency, you indicated as one of the areas resources to be provided by the proponents. So yeah, the budget is very important there. Yeah, in this case, you put some timelines there, or alternatively a Gantt chart. So do you intend that within 1 year you'll be done with this project?
It's possible that the project can be done within a
We keep losing you, Stephen.
Period for a pilot phase project. Pilots for 6 months and intervention. So I'm considering that. Oh goodness, you can hear me now.
Yes.
Stephen, can you please repeat, because your connection is not perfect?
Okay. What I'm saying is we intend to run the pilot phase for a 1 year period, and it's feasible in the sense that based on experience, pilot phases often can run from 3 months to 6 months, and then the results are gotten in order to solicit funds for a continued phase after the pilot. And giving it the 1 year period is enough gestation period for us to actually get concrete data that can meet up with the needs of the project.
All right. Thank you very much then. We appreciate the group efforts and hope that you can improve the documents. As you have indicated, there are some sections that you've not yet finished. And so once you're done with that, you can share the final version with us. The next presentation will come from our dear other public service. Is that Bridget?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm making you co-host so you can share.
No, I'm very like I'm putting it on the WhatsApp page.
Okay.
Yeah. I hope that's fine.
Sure, that's okay with us.
I've shared it.
At least so we can follow through with you as you speak.
Yes, okay. Good afternoon to us all.
Yes.
So I will be presenting on the basic concept note. And I'll be tackling, because this is a solo project and I'm in Ghana, it will be carried, or it will be done in Ghana. So the topic that I chose was mitigating the impact of road accidents through public awareness and safety measures.
Okay.
Road accidents are a major public health concerns globally, with millions of people dying or getting injured every year. According to the World Health Organization, road accidents are one of the leading causes of death and disability worldwide, with an estimated 1.35 million people dying each year. The majority of these accidents occur in low and middle income countries where road safety measures are inadequate. Road accidents not only causes physical harm to the individuals involved, but also have a significant economic impact on society, especially in developing countries like Ghana. So this is the concept. The concept of the project is to mitigate the impact of road accidents through a multi-pronged approach. This includes creating public awareness about road safety, improving road infrastructure, and enforcing road safety regulations. Objectives: to create public awareness about road safety and the impact of road accidents on society. To improve road infrastructure, including the construction of safe and well-maintained roads and the installation of appropriate signage and road markings. To enforce road safety regulations, including the use of seatbelts, helmets, and other safety gear, and the implementation of speed limits and other traffic laws. Fourth, to provide support and medical assistance to those affected by road accidents. And also, fifth but not the least, to create public awareness on drink driving and the impact on driving, because drink driving has been one of the major causes of road accidents in Ghana, since there have been some outlets or drinking spots along our highways that sells alcohol to these drivers, and it causes road accidents. The target audience will be all drivers, that is both private and commercial drivers. And then we will also target driver union organizations like the GPRTU and other ones. Then pedestrians, those who use the roads. And then we'll also be targeting restaurant owners on highways. Like I said, some of these restaurants, they sell alcohol to drivers, especially those on long distance. And it's in turn, like at the end of the day, it harms them. Then we'll also be involving the security services. Methods. The project will employ a variety of methods to achieve its objectives, and they include conducting public awareness campaigns through various media, including television, radio, social media, and community outreach programs. 2, collaborating with local authorities to improve road infrastructure, including road construction and maintenance, and installation of appropriate signage and road markings. Partnering with law enforcement agencies to enforce road safety regulations, including the implementation of speed limits and use of seatbelts and helmets and other traffic laws. Establishing emergency response teams and providing medical assistance to those affected by road accidents. Expected outcomes. First, it will increase public awareness about road safety and the impact of road accidents on society. 2, improve road infrastructure, including safe and well-maintained roads and appropriate signage and road markings. Enhance enforcement of road safety regulations, leading to a reduction in the number of road accidents. And then 4th, improved emergency response and medical assistance to those affected by road accidents, leading to a reduction in the number of fatalities and injuries. So there will be I would say a week-long or a 5 days event, and this is the schedule of the event. So it will start on Monday to Friday. I think Friday there was a mistake there. I'll correct it. And so 19th June 2023, we'll have media outreach, and this will include visiting some selected radio and TV stations and community points to educate them about road safety and its importance. We'll also be having, on the second day, that is Tuesday, we'll be having a workshop for all drivers and vehicle owners, all road users, that is pedestrians and others, and the general public. On the third day, there will be a symposium which will include experts in the field and some victims of road accidents. On the fourth day, we'll be having a field visitation, and it will be done in collaboration with stakeholders like the National Road Safety Authority, DVLA, and others. Then finally, on the last day, we'll have road campaign. Yes, we will embark on road campaign for those, if all the 4 activities that we did, they didn't hear of us, we would have on the 5th day road campaign, which will be done with some selected road victims and road users on the need to ensure that our roads that we use in Ghana here are friendly and devoid of unnecessary accidents. Knowledge and dissemination events. We'll be having some presentation of some descriptive statistics which will be made available to inform audience or participants on the number of lives we lose due to road accidents, which are really not necessary. We shouldn't have been losing so much lives just because of road accidents or reckless driving. Then we'll be having pictorial presentation on road accident and the need for road safeness. Yes, so we'll show the general, sometimes seeing is believing. So we would have some pictorial diagrams of crashes, victims involved, so that at least people will believe that, yes, truly, these are the outcomes of accidents. Conclusion. Road accidents are a significant public health concern, and this project aims to mitigate their impact through a comprehensive approach that includes creating public awareness, improving road infrastructure, enforcing road safety regulation, and providing support and medical assistance to those affected by road accidents. The success of this project will depend on the commitment of all stakeholders, including governmental authorities, law enforcement agencies, and the general public. This is the end of my presentation on basic concept note. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bridget, for that presentation. Good work to start with. I see your hand up, Kojo Ananibi. Kindly speak to us.
What I would like to say is we'll be presenting on educational cluster. Thank you.
All right, I appreciate that. Any question from colleagues? Okay, so I will proceed here. To start with, I noticed in your conclusion where you say that the success of this project will depend on the commitment of all stakeholders. But you notice that this is something you cannot be assured of also. So normally you may want to include a risk matrix in terms of the different risk factors you envisage and to what extent will they possibly impact on the success or failure of your project. So that will be useful to put, yes, a risk matrix.
Okay.
And as usual, we're expecting some. For all those who have been including timelines in your work, okay, so what I've seen so far, they look good, but preferably, or the trend is to use what we call a Gantt chart, where you put everything in horizontal, arrangements, and then you put the timelines on the different columns, associated with them, so that you can use colors to indicate where the periods that you intend to execute particular activities. So it goes to everyone so far that has presented. And as usual, budgets, it would have been useful to see budgets, because I noticed your methods, you're include, apart from the campaigns, road awareness campaigns, you're looking at undertaking some infrastructure works.
Yes.
So,
and it comes with budgets.
Yes, it has budgetary implications. So, and especially for concept notes, for the risk matrix, it's possible to ignore in the concept notes, but in the proposal proper, there will need to be a concept note, a risk matrix for this kind of work, okay? But the budgets is a very necessary thing, because The first question anybody who picks it, having read everything, will ask is, how much will it cost us to implement? So budget should be a very important thing that you factor in the concept notes. Yeah, and also in your introduction, I noticed your introduction is very scanty. Yeah, I noticed that, yeah, we have very limited time also to work, and you were doing this all alone. But it would have been useful to see you brought in some global, perspectives, and then you brought in the country side. It would have been good to know what has been done in the past, because these kind of interventions are not new in Ghana here. We've had the Road Safety Commission and now authority doing some works in the past. Some other organizations have done some works in the past. It will be useful to see what they have done, how successful or failure they were, what were the causes of their successes and failures. Then informs what innovation are you introducing, what different thing are you going to do so that you don't end up with their, so yeah, it will also include how successful they were and then how much failures they recorded. And then you will want to maximize that knowledge. So let's not try to treat these things as novel, because they are not novel. Okay.
Exactly.
So it's good to know what people have done in the past. So then we innovate around that, so that we do something different to maximize our results. We get it.
All right.
All right. And I noticed that my final comments, I noticed you put in a subheading after the introduction, concept. The concept of this project is to mitigate. I don't think there is anything like the concept.
Okay.
I don't know if it's the goal that you're trying to communicate. The goal of this project is to mitigate the impact of road accidents through a multi-pronged approach, right?
Yeah, something like that. And yeah.
So the entire document is a concept note. What you are thinking, what you are conceiving is what you are capturing in the document to share with the first-hand thing for anybody to look. Apart from talking, they would want to see something. So you share this document with them, they have a look at it, and then they can you can secure their support, whether funders or collaborators or even people inside your own organization.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, well noted and corrected.
Sure. Thank you very much for that. So I think energy, I see energy in there, but we'll come to that. And then the education side is also ready. Yeah, Stephen, I see your hand up.
I wish to ask, there is equally a disparity here which may have probably affected the ways we got the information. I may be wrong and I stand corrected, in the sense that we never really considered that probably the budget proposals would be a part of the concept note. We thought about concept note as encompassing just the narrative of the document, and not necessarily taking into consideration the budgetary and the other aspects into it, because it will be probably like the full proposal as a whole. And yes, that is where I was looking forward to the opportunity of maybe the session of today being the one which highlights on those areas of how to put the proposal across. Like I said, I stand corrected, and I just wish to share this worry.
Okay, so in our limited time, for our learning, we are not able to develop a full proposal. And so that is why we introduced you to the proposal and the success things you need to do to make it successful, right? But to start with, you need a concept note, which is why at the very base of this few time we have, we wanted to tackle the concept notes. But the concept note itself, you don't need the full-blown budget, but an indicative one, kind of a summary of the budget. So a few budget lines that you think will be covered in there, and then the indications of how much will be spent on those. The detailed budgets can be then done in the main proposal, but the concept should equally have kind of some estimations of, so that it answers the question. If anybody picks the document, they get to understand, okay, this is how much it will cost to do this. They can have a sense around it. The main budget can have some kind of variation in the amounts to be spent, but the concept notes with its budgets helps answer questions like that. Does that help?
It helps somewhat, but it begs the question again. It means the concept note should rather be the last document that is developed, because if we're looking at it practically, you would need to develop the budget first, or probably work with the budget first and then work with the M&E strategy next, in order to get the information you need on ground, in order to give an estimated value for the budget in your concept note. I don't know if you see the point from where I'm coming from.
I get where you're coming from, okay? But then what happens in reality is that you have initial ideas, okay? And you put all of these together, including the budget. So the budget that you may produce, that you can have the full budget elsewhere, but you don't need to put it in the concept. But like I said, the summary of it, right? The M&E framework, like you talked about, you don't need the full framework in here, but an indicative one. For instance, the one that Bridget just shared, talking about expected outcomes. Those are the types that we're looking at. So what is expected in the project? That is how we get to measure the successes or failure of your project. So those kind of things, not the full-blown ones. And then with this concept note now shared, which is, again, I emphasize, it is the first document that you need to produce, then others can then make inputs or suggestions. Okay, we do this, we do that. It's the first document to start the engagement. So the main proposal then will have to look at other things, incorporate opinions from other people, giving you opportunity to detail some of these things. Probably in the concept note, it's not very detailed. So then in the full proposal, you expand on these things. But as much as possible, the concept note should have everything in there, but succinctly, kind of summary of everything. And then you can develop them further afterwards.
Thank you very much. It puts a lot into perspective.
Sure. I see your hand up, Al Hassan, and
So my question here is that if we are doing the concept note, that does it mean that the budgetary aspect, it can come in the form of maybe a statement? Maybe this proposal is estimated to have cost us up to this amount of money.
exactly.
Instead of coming up with the whole budget, then we
you don't need the whole budget, but you can put in an estimated amount that is
in the statement.
Yes, in a statement form is okay, but I would rather recommend a small table, like just the statement form would give you like everything, how much to cost. But if you can split them also into the few budget lines, maybe administration, operation, like a few things, just a few details to break down the full amount. That helps also to give a sense of what proportion will go into what. It helps a potential funder, for instance, to look at how much their money they are going to put in will be of value. So that it's not just a blanket figure that this is how much it's going to cost.
Okay, noted.
All right. Any other question? Otherwise, we will invite the energy policy team. I see Louise Anono.
Yes, sir. I want to present on energy.
Okay. So I'm going to make you co-host now. Okay. You have it.
Okay, can I share my screen?
Sure.
I'm coming. A moment. Okay. Okay, I hope you are seeing my screen.
Yes, we can see.
Okay. So my work is based on energy policy designing training.
Okay.
First of all, the purpose of this is that in our country, most of time the achievement of a good work in energy domain are best do when we use energy policy. So what we notice is that a lot of experts don't know how to set up or design the good energy policy on or designing in a good way. Even me, I'm an energy expert, but I'm learning a lot in this course. So that is the way, in that way, I propose a concept note on how to design energy policy. That is training. That concept note is training. So the organization that you are targeting is the humanitarian organization like UNIDO, UNGP, and other that is interested than the energy domain. So after that, our outcome is based on training of at least 30 people in energy policy development, make effective energy policy making at all country level, increase the participation of youth in the different energy development activity at the country level. So in that concept note, I will not go deeply on it. I share it in WhatsApp group so everyone can go to check it. So I propose a plan on that training that will be on 4 weeks. So the 1 week will based on chapter 1, assessment of the importance of energy policy implementation at the country level. Week 2, based on chapter 2, based on presentation of the different stage of setting up an energy policy. The week 3, that based on problem definition and knowledge of different data collection technique, elaboration of strategy and policy designing. And week 4, based on case study, that will be a project that all participants will do at country level. That will based on the setting up of an energy policy on the basis of data available online. So this training will take place on a web platform that will be especially designed on the basis of needs by the training officer. The explanation of the case study will be done by webinar, but the various courses will be available at the platform level during the training period. The completion evaluation will be completed at the end of the course. The candidate may complete the assessment 3 times, but that is the condition to get the certification. Thank you. That is the whole thing that I want to talk about with that concept. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much, Luis, for that attempt at this work. But my first question is whether you used any of the templates that I shared on the page.
So I don't get enough time to use a template. So I will adapt what I did here with one template that you share with us.
Okay.
So we can put it.
Okay, because the templates, you have a good idea over here, okay? But the template was intended to guide how you present them. Because the first thing, for instance, should be kind of a background of the problem. What we need to have some insight of the problem. What is it? If it's a problem, then we need to know to what extent is it a problem. Sometimes some problems are very minute and can be ignored. In the meantime, some other problems are higher priority. So does this constitute higher priority, problems, or can be ignored in the meantime? These are things that you will need to share in your as the first thing, likely a background, all right, before you proceed then to the goals and the objectives of your training.
Okay. So the problem is that I missed the background with the objective. That's the problem, because I can separate it in the template.
Okay, so you may want to do that then and then share later. Anybody, the question for Luis? Anybody for a question on for Luis? And Louis, okay, I see a hand up. Yes, Stephen.
I wish to find out from Luis, the project, I understand that is a policy on energy, but in what domain of energy he referring the policy to? That's what I did not really get to come from.
Take your last part again. In what?
In what domain? In what domain is the addressing? What domain of the policy and what problem in particular is he addressing? Because it's energy, it's broad. So which of the energy forms or which type of energy is he addressing at this level? So it's what I wish to get from the presentation.
Okay, Luis, you want to address that question?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stefan. So we have a lot of energy domain. We have fossil energy, renewable energy, but that concept notes are not targeting a special domain. So that concern everyone that want to design a concept note, a policy energy policy based on any domain that can concern oil, that can concern renewable energy, that can concern coals and other gas. Gas is a fossil energy. Nuclear is in renewable energy, but that can concern fossil or renewable energy. Anyone kind of energy, but any kind of energy. But that one is everyone. That are not targeting a special energy. Are you getting?
Yes, we get you. So you notice this is a very valid question, and the answers you are providing, the details you are providing are all missing in this. So it's useful to include those as well, particularly in the background, so that people get to know what you are aiming to do. You get it? Or even the scope. So as part of, the background, you could include the scope where, for instance, the first project, the malaria ones, you remember we spoke detailed about the scoping. So are you intending to do all energy types, or a mix of some? Or so whatever you are intending to do, you need to indicate that in your either your scoping as part of the objectives, or in this case you may want to do in the methodology so that you indicate this is what I intend to do on these particular domains or on the whole domain, covering everything as much as possible. And you can give some of the domains that you'll be covering, probably clusters of them, fossil fuels and all others, renewables and all that, right?
Okay.
Yes, I see your hand up, Dr. Yawat.
Yes, thank you, sir. I will have some set of questions I would like to ask Louis to like give me, and I will give my own personal input. The personal input that I would like to like enlighten on this work is in Africa and in the general, we are like trying like to figure out how to write a grant. So generalizing the energy aspect will not be advantageous for him because he needs to specify, and before specifying it, he needs to like come and have a seat and try like to figure out what are the type of energy who are very accessible in Africa. I will quote two examples. We can have the renewable energy coming from the solar system that is very accessible in our African context. And the second type of energy that we can have based to our natural resources can be the nuclear energy, because if I quote an example of DRC Congo, is one of the largest country in the world that produces uranium, generally used for nuclear energy. My second aspect now will go on the writing process, because if he wants to finance his work, he needs to be specific. He really needs to be specific, because generalizing the context of energy will not be on his advantage.
All right, okay. That's noted, Luis.
Yeah, that is a good observation that the doctor did. But the purpose, what I was thinking, I will include what you suggest, but what I was thinking, I was not thinking about only Africa, because the problem is general. Even in Africa are not the only continent that are suffering.
Yes, you may be targeting the whole world, but your projects cannot reach the whole world right now.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, just like the comments that was given to the health team.
Okay.
Target your concept to your specific intervention first. It is out of the learnings that you can then scale up.
Okay.
You get it?
So it's okay.
All right. Thank you. Yes, I see your hand up, Mr. Ajavon Ofido.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. From
Are
the
you
presentation
Ghanaian or Togolese?
I'm both.
You are both?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Please, from the presentation that my brother, Mr. Anono, made, if I understood very well, it seems like it's a kind of awareness he wanted to do. And he mentioned in the presentation that he's going to do a massive online course. So I hope a massive online course can reach many persons from many places, even if it is in Europe and all those things, America and all those things. So I think his project should not be something that we should think like he should be focused on Africa, only Africa. So it's a kind of awareness he is doing. So that's what me I think from I thought. Thank you.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Yes, Ms. Anono.
What I want to say there is that the document is not awareness, but is for make a training.
Yeah, he actually mentioned it. I mean, you mentioned it clearly in the entire document and the plan even of how you're going to roll that up into modules and delivered weekly. What I see in there looks more like training than just awareness creation.
Okay.
All right, Sheku Primer.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Well, it's just a question. It might be a question, but it might be a statement as well. Well, with regards to the health cluster, we are able to prepare two concept notes, one on the project concept and the other one on the basic concept. So my question is, although we still have some elements to capture in the basic concept, as well as the project concept, but if are we to go ahead to present on the basic concept, or we should leave that to be shared in the group later?
So yeah, the idea was for you, the different teams to share their concepts as you have them, the drafts. So I put in the page different, a link to different concept notes to give you a sense of how you can tweak them depending on the initiative that you intend to pursue. So there are training, there's a specific concept note for training type of interventions. There's another for projects like in implementation interventions. There are the research types as well. There's a business type actually. So there are different ones, which was why I expected, my expectation was that people will explore them all and then decide which one best suits their initiative. Do you get that?
Yes. So it's just the same thing I'm saying. So we decided to work on two. We worked on the project concept note and also the basic, but we have presented on one, which Dr. Awat and the other co-presenters did. So I'm now saying if the basic concept note is, we should leave that one for to be shared in the group later, or
yeah, you can drop that in the group then.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. So Louise, I think you are discharged. Okay. And thank you for your presentation once again.
Okay, thank you, sir. I will
stop
my...
All right. Okay. So the final presentation we have oh, we're still yet to do the agric guys, and then we have the education. Yes, Kojo Ananivi.
Okay, thank you. So we'll be presenting on educational cluster.
Okay, education, let's go. You have your document in the page.
We have it. Mr. Sam will be sharing it with me.
Because two things, either you share it on your screen or you put it in the document in the page, and then we cannot, because we need to follow through with you.
Okay, sir. We can put it on the WhatsApp page.
Okay. So we're waiting.
Thank you. So I will work on the concepts educational cluster, and the title of our work is educational awareness for farmers. And we need to educate farmers. We want to teach them a lot of things by raising awareness. And here we have the sector is agriculture, and the dates is 4th April 2023. So we base our pilot location, we base here on West Africa, Ghana, Togo, Cameroon, Nigeria, and Sierra Leone. So let me brief a little bit about the background, which is the issue we are facing in Africa. We all know that during the research conducted, we have seen that the agriculture has begun in the Sahel, South Sahara, in years 5200 BC. But today, the way the situation was for the agriculture, the traditional way they used to do it, has not been improved or been improving. So we are now talking about raising awareness in order to share the system, the way we used to practice agriculture in Africa, especially in these countries you have listed so far: Togo, Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and Cameroon. So we all know that the practice of the agriculture in these countries are traditional. We are not been improving. Even though we are in the era that we have technology, we can use all means to reshape local agriculture. So we are now talking as an issue. What we have, or what we are raising, or our objectives and goals, is to work with the government, because we are NGO. Our name is Literacy Awareness for Farmers. This is our name. So we want to work with government because we can't do it alone. Government also, so that they can help, they can also contribute because they are the one ruling. So while we are working with them, they will also be touching states, regions, communities, so that they can delegate. People that are in our organization can go over there and teach these people in order to change the look of the education. For example, in my country, Togo, my president has been improving that. He said that agriculture is now his priority, 28%. And as a project he called FOPAT, and have been conducting visitations to the north, to the south, to visit agricultures like farmers, especially to help them and also to encourage them to improve more. So we have been doing it already. We need more things to do in order to improve in that domain. And we strongly believe that by doing it, the system will change for us, and we have a sustainable food, or as we are fighting for food security, we have enough food. So now, as that's been stated, we mentioned about the goals and the objectives. What are we looking for? What is the purpose of this organization? We want the government to work with us to help us by bringing or by giving a skills that would build to grow farmers' yield and income. We know agriculture is the most paramount domain that we must tackle, we must handle with hands, because we all eat food. So this is what we are looking for. The government must build up these people with enough skills, enough materials, tools that they will use in their domain. And one of the problems is finance. They don't have money, they don't have means to do it. So as we are also talking about that, they need money. You provide them with a little money or with some financing them to improve. Some people that have large farms, like large opportunities, they have these big farms, they can help out with some sort of money in order to also to improve in what they are doing. And that is not enough. We also need to support these farmers. We need to support these farmers, because by educating them, we must also react and contribute to what they are doing. We also need to support them and to make make a good choice about the seed they are planting. This is also very important for us. The seed they are planting is also important. So we must help them also by selecting the seed. We also have like building a business and vocational skills. A business, what we are talking about business is, as we have our NGO here, we also have, so we'll be working with organizations that will also be helping the best, especially in that domain, that will be helping these farmers. So this is what we are looking for. And also connecting farmers to the digital economy. We are now in the era of technology. They must not be using the traditional way of cultivating or planting or do whatever agricultural activities. So they need to teach them digital economy so that they will use it, or technology, to use it in their farm to increase more their outcome. Because after all, they will be using this food to serve the whole population. So this is what we are looking for, technology. They must also improve in technology. And what will be the benefits, the outcome of all these things we are talking about, as our project is talking about? And surely it will be a less damage to the environment, because as we are helping them to have more food in the environment, there will be no, like we have enough food, and also low food submission. There will not be any problem. And we also have here like a job. There will be a job for the youth, not only the youth, enough of people that will have a job so that they can work easily and also get money. That also will help these country we are talking about, Ghana, Togo, Nigeria, and Sierra Leone. If you have this connection among us, there will be this import and export. It also can facilitate and help the country we tackle here. This is a little bit or what I can talk about the benefits, but the budget we need, the sum of money that we are tackling here, that will help us to fulfill this, our dream. This project is estimated in 30,000 US dollars. This is what we are looking for. We believe that with this, and the duration is between May 23 and August 23. So we strongly believe by doing it, it will contribute to the society and it will change the look of agriculture in our various or this country we have mentioned so far. So thank you very much. This is the little one we can provide on the work we did. So if there is any amendment, you can bring that and we'll correct. Thank you.
Sure, thank you for that presentation. A good attempt by your team. And I noticed your project is, your initiative is expected to take about 4 months to implement, right?
Sir?
Yes, I'm only registering whether your initiative is intended to implement within 4 months.
Yeah, six months, sir.
May to August?
May to August is 4 months now. Yeah, normally we must have 4 months.
Okay. Any questions from colleagues for this team? I noticed that you picked some specific templates for this work, and so we have background.
Yes, sir.
Solutions, are they previous solutions that people have tried to implement, or the ones that you intend implementing?
Some are previous, and we also think about some that we can also add so that we can improve more.
How is that related to proposed program then?
Proposed program? The previous one we choose?
No, so I'm looking at the document now, the different sections. Earlier up there is solutions. That's the second part. But yes, down there, after the fifth part, as part of the fifth part, program and budget proposal, the first thing there is proposed program.
Proposed program, yeah.
So I'm looking at which one is it, a proposed program that you are focusing to deliver, or the solutions that you listed earlier?
The proposed program here, we are mostly tackling what we need to do, like as we said it in the solution, like our contribution and also the budgets we need to fulfill it.
So the solution, as you listed earlier, is it something that is from the literature? That is what is found that is what is known to be solutions to these problems that you list?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is what is known to be a solution for what we listed.
Okay. So you need to put that then as a prelude to the solutions being listed, so that we know where these solutions are coming from, because it's one thing to know what the solutions are and another to get implementing them, so that we get to differentiate them, that this is what is captured so far from the practice, and out of that, this is what you intend to do.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
All right. Any other question for the team? Otherwise, it looks like a good attempt. And so we will leave you to go polish it up, flesh out a few things, and then proposed program. I like the rationale you brought in, but proposed program, we don't see anything like expected, outcomes.
Okay.
Yeah, so because that's by how we will measure whether your program is successful or not.
Okay. We
So
correct that.
what do you put on the proposed program? Is it the activities that you are going to undertake? So you remember I mentioned in our previous meeting about the theory of change. If I do this under these other conditions, this is the outcome I'm expecting.
Okay.
So we need to have that kind of a connection of between the activities that you'll be embarking on and then the outcomes, at least.
Say something about
The conditions that exist are the type that I mentioned to the one other earlier group about the risk matrix. All right.
yes.
If this and this condition exists, we are likely to be successful. If these other conditions exist, then we may have this percentage or margin of, failure. It opens you up to, so that it's not like your project is airtight and it becomes less susceptible to criticisms.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
I would like to say something on the proposed program.
Okay, please proceed.
We're talking about a forum, create a forum. So during we can be discussing about this same objective, which is to educate the society and create a forum. So we'll be interacting with people from far, regions, so that they can also to know what exactly we are tackling as a problem.
All right, that's okay then. Thank you for the submission once again, and we would want to discharge you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Any other presentations to go? Although our time is almost up.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Agric, okay, let's quickly hear from you then, Agric.
Yes, the screen will be shared by Blessing Williams.
Okay.
Blessing, are you there?
Hello, can you see my screen?
We can see your screen.
Yes,
we can. We can see it.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone. Good afternoon once more. I'm Edna VC from Cameroon, and I'll be doing this presentation with Blessing, my colleague from Nigeria. So for this assignment, we decided to go with the training workshop template, and we worked on the training workshop on sustainable agriculture in Nigeria, which is expected to take place in Abuja from the 8th to the 12th of April 2023. As for the country, we just decided to work on that since we had Cameroonians and Nigerians, but we all agreed to to focus our project in Nigeria. So for the background to this study, as we all know, agriculture is the backbone, is one of the backbones of the Nigerian economy, with about 70% of the population involved in the exercise, and is contributing about 22% of the country's GDP. However, the agricultural sector is facing lots of problems, which often lead to low productivity. And among these problems, we have issues of soil degradation, climate change, and as well as poor farming practices. And with the rising population in Nigeria, we need to boost agricultural productivity in order to meet up with these demands. And currently, the conventional farming practices that are being used are often lead to environmental degradation. We have practices which use lots of chemicals. We have poor methods such as slash and burn and others, which often lead to environmental degradation and even affecting health. It's in that light that we decided to have this training session, which targets mainly farmers. And why farmers? Because among the 70% of the population involved in agriculture, we notice that most of these people are peasant farmers who have not even had a formal education. And hence, sometimes they do not even know the reasons for the type of results they are getting, and equally some of the consequences of the practices they are being implemented. And for this, we are targeting most of these peasant farmers. Equally, these farmers also lack access to finance. A reason why at the end of this workshop, we are expecting to offer some farm inputs to some of these farmers in order to boost their productivity. So for the objectives of the workshop, as earlier mentioned, the main objective is to train smallholder farmers in Nigeria with knowledge and skills, as well as the tools necessary to develop sustainable agricultural farming practices. So the main focus of this workshop will be to boost their capacity, particularly in climate smart agricultural practices, including management of water, and others, such as the use of renewable energy techniques in farms. And another major objective would be to promote access to finance and technology in order to improve agricultural productivity and profitability. So for the expected outcomes, I'll invite my colleague Blessing to continue with the presentation.
Hello, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
My name is Blessing Williams from Nigeria. So for the expected outcomes of the workshop, at the end of the day, the participants are expected to understand sustainable agricultural practices and their benefits, and have the skills and knowledge to implement sustainable farming practices. Also be able to manage their farm sustainably and efficiently, and be able to mitigate the effects of climate change on agriculture through the adoption of climate smart agricultural practices. They should also have increased access to finance and technology to improve agricultural productivity and profitability. For the training methodology and content, the workshop will use a participatory approach that involves active engagement and practical demonstrations. The program will combine classroom sessions, field demonstrations, and experiential learning activities. The program will use various training methods, including lectures, group discussions, and practical demonstrations. The workshop will cover the following topics: introduction to sustainable agriculture, soil management and conservation practices, crop rotation and intercropping, organic farming practices, integrated pest management, which is IPM, climate smart agriculture practices, access to finances and technology for small-scale farmers. The resource persons are myself, Blessing Williams. I'm the founder of Minton Global Services here in Nigeria, and VC Edna, She's an agricultural and environmental specialist from Cameroon. Njobe Kevin, nature conservation ambassador and climate change researcher from Cameroon. And engineer Kanayo OJ, the president and CEO of Kanayo Chukwu Multipurpose Cooperative Society Limited here in Nigeria. The training budget in total is the sum of $50,000 US, and the breakdown the breakdown goes as follows. The training proper is $15,000 US. Empowering with tools for successful candidates is $30,000 US, and the logistics $5,000 US. The source of funding, we intend to use individual contributions and corporate sponsorship. Target participants are the smallholder farmers, agricultural extension workers, and other stakeholders in the agricultural value chain. The number of participants we intend to have is 100 persons, 100 persons, yeah, rather. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the team, Edna and Blessing. I will defer first to the entire class. Any questions from you for them? If you have a question, you can raise your hand and then I will invite you. But you have stopped sharing your screen. Yeah, it has, so that they can direct their questions still whilst looking at the documents. Otherwise, you will want to share the document on the WhatsApp page, which then makes it accessible. It's too late right now, else they can't speak to the issues. Yes, anybody? Seems nobody is interested at the moment. But a question that comes to mind, first thing for me, is how, as one of the expected outcomes, you expect them to have increased access to finance. How does just one training that you're doing, moreover, it's an in-person training, right? Is it an in-person training?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Lasting how many days?
It's from the 8th to 12th, which is just 4 days.
5 days.
Yes. So 5 days, and you just expect them to have access to funding, finance, because you show them how to get funding. You're right.
Exactly.
Is it nothing else needs to be done? It's like saying, I will give, what's the example that comes to mind? And then you expect something big.
No, nothing it can't come big just with one training. So this first training can actually help for a start.
Because
as I mentioned,
when
yes,
you show them, it's want them to show them how they can make, get access to funds. And then the real thing of when they now take that initiative to access funding, whether or not they can be granted. For instance, you can show them that there are bank loans and things, and that this particular bank, for instance, has this product. And then they can then follow up after the training. What if the bank doesn't give them because of some other conditions?
No, for example, the bank, like in Nigeria, we have the Bank of Agriculture. They always give out loans to farmers. It's the usual stuff. They give out loans to farmers to help. So you can always, we can show them how to apply for those loans and how to access the loans. And the conditions are usually not rigid.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Because I would want when we are framing these initiatives, that's what it has relation with the theory of change. If you do this under these conditions, this is what we are expecting to happen. So there are quite a number of things that will come to play before the outcomes we're expecting. So let's frame them, not just one thing and then we expect an outcome without considering the contravening factors, you know. So let's put that also into context. Yeah, I see your hand up. Yeah, Dr. Yawat.
Yes, thank you, sir. I have a single question. In regard of the time of the realization of the project, I have just one question. Would there be a return on the ground?
Will they?
Will they have a return on the field, the return on the field to assure themselves that all the techniques that they will implement, they're practicing it?
Okay, question. Good question.
Because on my own point of view, if they just come and give all this technique without supervising it,
that
there'll be a problem.
Yes, that is important, and it has implications for monitoring evaluation. After your training, how do you know whether or not people are using this knowledge that you've imparted to them, or these skills that you have given them? How do you know whether they are, you know? So it's good to add a bit flesh on the M&E portions, right?
Okay, so
Well, this is a very good question. Okay, yeah, I'll allow my colleague to go ahead.
Okay. Do I have the floor?
Yes, we're listening.
Okay, my name is Kanayo from Nigeria. We intend that for sustainability of the project, depending on the provinces that the successful candidates, participants come from, we have provinces and districts and states in Nigeria. We could put them in clusters or groups of 5, and we encourage them to carry out what we call models of these farms that show this climate smart technologies or sustainable technology approach. So it's like a model. So each district, they'll come together with our assistance and with our connections. They will be able to set up, in addition to the ones they have, set up a model that 5 of them will be able to manage. And it will be like a model of what everyone will see. This is what we intend to achieve. This is what, if you do this, if you follow these climate smart technologies and sustainable agricultural approaches that we have taught these people, this is what you're going to get. So this is what we intend going forward in trying to sustain the project, putting them in groups.
All right. So listening to you, I noticed that your intervention goes beyond the 5 days training then.
Yes, sir.
So it means you need to put in a Gantt chart to indicate the different things that you will be doing before the training and after the training. Do you get it?
Get it, sir.
Sure, sure.
All right.
One final thing that I would want to highlight, for instance, you know, it need the different things you put in the document should flow naturally. So where I see the target persons, I think it's down there. Yes. So you place it after the budgets and all that. I think that that portion, target participants and the number of participants, they should come before the budgets. All right.
All right.
They should come as part of the methodology, talking about the coverage and all that.
All right.
Because the budget side, it's a whole, you know, portion on its own. All right. I know colleagues may want to ask some questions, but we've run out of time. And so I would want to appreciate the team. Thank you for the efforts. And to every team actually that presented, we want to appreciate your participation, your active participation in this exercise. Hopefully, we have all learned one thing or the other. I will want you individually in the WhatsApp page. If this is the first time you are working on a concept note, just indicate that on the WhatsApp page. We want to estimate how successful this this training has been. So just indicates to us if this is the first time you are, because I noticed we're about 19 or 18 participants here. So that is the population I would be evaluating this on. So on the WhatsApp page, we want to see out of this 13 people, how many of us are experiencing working on a concept note for the first time. Please indicate that on the WhatsApp page for us. Yeah, and so to wrap up our learning all together, we started with the concept of developments in this century. And we noticed that there are concerns, right, across sectors. It's a broad concept beyond any specific discipline or domain. But we have been making efforts all this while, particularly with the constraints of finance. We have been seeking to advance our own development aspirations, led by countries, but governments of the different countries, but different actors equally play important roles, including private sector organization, business organizations, and then civil society organizations. So we see how different arrangements can be made to advance our development, including public-private partnerships. So we should be very innovative in how we go about that. And we indicated a very key ingredient for development initiatives is the use of evidence. And we looked at the different kinds of evidence that we could make use of, their advantages, their disadvantages, their strengths, their weaknesses, and all of that. And at what point within the decision-making process, the policy decision-making process, that we could deploy these different things. We also looked at the public financial management system and the different actors within that space, including those that work in preparing the budgets, and then those that work in executing or implementing the budget, so the expenditure side, as well as those that oversee, kind of evaluate these different interactions, including the audits and then the statistics and all other, the treasury and all of those. So we went through and managed to get to the point where we learn about how to put together successful winning project proposals. And we went ahead now detailed into producing the first kind of documents that we need in this regard, which is the concept note. This is where we end today. And I believe that everybody got to learn one thing or another. We look forward to you finalizing your different concept documents and then sharing the final versions with us to use as outputs from this training exercise. Thank you all for making time today. We've gone about 20 minutes beyond our regular time expected to close, but I am equally sure that everybody had opportunity to advance their own knowledge frontiers. And so we are all beneficiaries of this. Thank you to you all for actively participating, and I emphasize on active participation because it's important. Without your participation, it's going to be a very boring lecture moment. But this training is not intended to be a lecture, which is why your interaction is highly appreciated. Thank you all, and we look forward to engaging someday, somehow, somewhere. Until then, I'm out now and wish you the very best in the successful stages of your learning. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Keep in touch.